Psychology proves that certain behaviors trigger obsession in people. Most of us don't know them. The ones who do get disproportionate attention and loyalty from their crushes. We're going to walk through 12 of these tactics today. Some will feel uncomfortable. That's intentional. Understanding how attraction actually works means confronting the gap between what we think matters and what actually does. Let's start with the first principle. Scarcity creates value. When something is available all the time, we stop wanting it. When it's rare, we obsess over it. This applies directly to your attention. If you respond to every message immediately, you become a utility. You're not special. You're just there. But if you're sometimes unavailable, sometimes slow to respond, sometimes genuinely occupied with your own life, you become interesting. Your crush starts wondering what you're doing. They check their phone more. They craft messages more carefully because they don't know when you'll reply. This isn't manipulation. This is just how human psychology works. We value what we have to work for. The second tactic is called intermittent reinforcement. Slot machines are addictive not because they always pay out, but because they pay out unpredictably. The same mechanism works in relationships. If you're consistently kind and engaged, your crush feels secure. Security is comfortable. It doesn't create obsession. But if your affection is unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, sometimes deeply engaged, sometimes withdrawn, your crush's brain enters a loop. They keep trying to get the warm version of you back. They become addicted to the possibility of your approval. Third is strategic vulnerability. People feel connected to those who let them help. If you present yourself as completely together, completely confident, completely fine, your crush has nothing to do. But if you occasionally reveal genuine struggles, genuine doubts, genuine moments where you need support, your crush feels useful. They feel needed. This triggers a psychological investment. They're not just attracted to you anymore. They're invested in your well-being. The fourth principle is mirroring. People like people who are like them. When you subtly mirror your crush's speech patterns, their energy level, their values, they feel understood. On a subconscious level, they feel like you're one of them. This isn't about being fake. It's about finding genuine common ground and letting it show. If they're thoughtful and deliberate, you're thoughtful and deliberate. If they're spontaneous and energetic, you match that energy. The brain interprets this as compatibility. Fifth is the contrast principle. If you're sometimes distant and then suddenly very present, the presence feels more intense. If you're sometimes serious and then suddenly playful, the playfulness hits harder. Contrast makes experiences memorable. Your crush will remember the moments when you shifted toward them more vividly than constant, steady attention. Those moments become the reference point for who you are. These first 5 form the foundation of what we're covering. The remaining 7 go deeper into how to actually implement these in real scenarios. They get more specific about timing, about what to say, about how to read the signals that tell you whether your crush is becoming more invested or pulling away. The key to all of this is understanding that obsession isn't random. It's not about luck or chemistry or destiny. It's a psychological process, and psychological processes follow rules. Once you understand the rules, you can work with them deliberately. That's what the rest of this breakdown is going to show you. So let's start with the first rule. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it's possibly the most powerful tool in human psychology for creating attachment. Here's how it works. When someone gets rewarded every single time they do something, they'll do it. But when they get rewarded randomly, unpredictably, they'll do it obsessively. They'll keep doing it, hoping for that next hit of validation. Think about slot machines. People don't lose their minds over guaranteed payouts. They lose their minds over machines that pay out sometimes randomly. The uncertainty is what creates the compulsion. Now apply that to your interactions. If you're always available, always responding, always engaged, you're a guaranteed payout. You're boring from a psychological standpoint. But if you're sometimes distant, sometimes warm, sometimes slow to respond, sometimes quick, you become unpredictable. You become the slot machine. Your crush will start checking their phone constantly. They'll replay conversations. They'll wonder what you're doing. They'll obsess. The second rule is called scarcity. People want what they can't have. This is basic human nature. If you're everywhere, all the time, you're not scarce. You're abundant. Abundant things have no value. But if you're selective about your time, your attention, your presence, you become valuable. This doesn't mean ghosting. It means having a life that exists outside of them. It means saying no sometimes. It means not being the person who's always free. It means having other priorities, other people, other interests. When someone realizes they have to compete for your attention, suddenly you're worth competing for. The third rule is called the principle of consistency. Once someone makes a choice about you, their brain wants to stay consistent with that choice. So if your crush decides you're interesting, they'll look for evidence that confirms it. If they decide you're worth their time, they'll keep investing to prove they made the right call. Here's the practical application. Early on, create a moment where they choose you. Make them decide something about you. It could be something small. They could choose to help you with something. They could choose to meet you somewhere. They could choose to keep a secret. Once they've made that choice, their brain starts working to justify it. They start believing you're worth it. And they'll keep choosing you to stay consistent with that belief. The fourth rule is contrast. Your crush's brain is constantly comparing you to other people they know, other people they've dated, other options they think they have. If you're exactly like everyone else, you're forgettable. But if you're different in specific ways, you're memorable. This could be how you communicate. It could be your sense of humor. It could be your values or your perspective. The key is that it has to be genuinely different, not forced. It has to be authentically you, just amplified. Show them a version of yourself that's distinctive enough that they can't compare you to anyone else they know. When someone can't find a comparison, they can't replace you. These four rules are the foundation. Intermittent reinforcement creates compulsion. Scarcity creates value. Consistency creates investment. Contrast creates irreplaceability. Master these, and you're not hoping your crush falls for you. You're working with the actual mechanics of how human psychology works. So now that you understand the framework, let's talk about the tactics that actually activate these mechanics. The first is strategic absence. You've heard it called playing hard to get, but that's not quite right. Playing hard to get is obvious. Strategic absence is invisible. It means you're present when it matters and gone when it doesn't. You text back in 2 hours, not 2 minutes. You're available Friday night but busy Saturday. You show up to the group dinner but leave early. Your crush never knows when they'll have you, so they start organizing their time around the possibility of having you. That's the compulsion kicking in. The second is what psychologists call mirroring with a delay. When your crush laughs, you laugh, but not immediately. When they lean in, you lean in, but a beat later. When they use a phrase, you use it back, but in a different conversation. This creates a subconscious sense of synchrony, without triggering the conscious alarm that says, this person is copying me. They feel understood by you without understanding why. That's the consistency mechanic. They start believing you're naturally aligned. Third is selective vulnerability. This is critical. You don't dump your problems on them. You share one real thing, something that matters, something true. And then you stop. You let them ask for more. Most people do the opposite. They overshare, thinking it builds intimacy. It doesn't. It creates obligation and awkwardness. Selective vulnerability creates curiosity. They want to know more about you, because you've shown them there's more to know. You've created scarcity of access to your inner world. Fourth is the contrast principle applied to your own behavior. You're not the same person in every context. With them, you're slightly different than you are with your friends. Not fake, just a different version. Maybe you're more thoughtful, maybe you're more playful, maybe you're more direct. The contrast between how you are with them and how you are with others makes them feel special. It makes them believe they bring out something unique in you. That's irreplaceability forming in real time. Fifth is what I call the competence signal. You're good at something, not arrogant about it, just visibly competent. You're the person who knows how to fix things, or create things, or understand things. You're useful. You're capable. Humans are attracted to competence because competence signals survival value. Your crush doesn't just like you. They respect you. And respect is the foundation that makes obsession sustainable. Sixth is the future frame. You don't talk about the past. You talk about what's next. You mention plans, possibilities, things you want to do or build. You invite them into that future implicitly. Not do you want to date me, but I'm thinking about taking a trip next month. It'd be incredible with the right person. You're not asking them to commit to you. You're painting a picture where they're already in it. The psychology here is that humans fall in love with futures, not presents. These aren't manipulative in the sense that they're dishonest. They're just the rules of how attention and desire actually work. Your crush isn't a puzzle to solve. They're a person with a nervous system that responds to specific stimuli. Master the stimuli, and you're not tricking them into liking you. You're just speaking the language their psychology already understands. So let's talk about what those stimuli actually are. The first one is scarcity. When someone feels like they might lose access to you, their brain floods with dopamine. It's not manipulation, it's neurobiology. If you're always available, always responding in seconds, always making time, you become a utility, you become expected. But if you're occasionally unavailable, if sometimes they have to wait, if sometimes you're busy doing something that matters to you, suddenly you become valuable. Their mind starts working to keep you around. They start initiating more. They start checking in. This isn't cruelty. This is just understanding that desire dies in certainty. The second stimulus is unpredictability. Humans are dopamine-seeking creatures. We crave novelty. If someone knows exactly how you'll respond, exactly what you'll say, exactly when you'll text back, the relationship becomes predictable. And predictable is boring. But if you're sometimes warm and sometimes distant, if you're sometimes deeply engaged and sometimes focused on your own world, if your moods and your availability shift, they stay curious. They stay trying to figure you out. They stay invested in understanding you, because you're not a solved equation. Then there's competence. This one's critical. People are attracted to people who are good at things. Not arrogant about things, good at things. If your entire world revolves around your crush, if your only identity is being available to them, you become less attractive. But if you have skills, if you have projects, if you have a life that exists independently of them, you become magnetic. You become someone worth having. Competence signals that you have options, that you're not desperate, that you're the kind of person who creates value in the world. That's attractive at a biological level. Fourth is mirroring with a twist. People like people who are similar to them. But if you just copy them exactly, you look insecure. Instead, mirror their communication style, their values, their sense of humor, but keep your own edge. Agree with them on the things that matter, but have genuine disagreements on the smaller things. This creates the illusion that you're similar enough to connect, but different enough to be interesting. It's the sweet spot where familiarity meets intrigue. Fifth is vulnerability, but strategic vulnerability. If you tell someone your deepest insecurity on the first conversation, you look unstable. But if you slowly, over time, reveal genuine parts of yourself, they feel trusted. They feel like they're getting to know the real you, And when someone feels like they know your real self, they feel bonded to you. They feel like they're in on something. They feel special. That's when obsession starts to form. Not because you're tricking them, but because you're letting them in gradually enough that they feel like they're earning access to you. The pattern here is the same across all of these. You're not being fake. You're being strategic about what you reveal and when. You're understanding that human psychology doesn't respond to desperation or neediness. It responds to people who have their own lives, their own value, their own mystery. Your crush's brain will naturally want to solve that mystery. Naturally want to keep you around. Naturally want to know more. That's not dark. That's just how attention works. That's not dark. That's just how attention works. So let's be real about what we've covered here. These 12 tricks aren't about manipulation in the way you might think. They're not about lying or tricking someone into loving you. That doesn't work, and it shouldn't work. What we're really talking about is understanding the psychology behind attraction and using that knowledge to present yourself authentically but strategically. The core principle underneath all of this is simple. People are drawn to people who seem to have something going on. People who aren't waiting around for validation. People who have boundaries. People who have depth. When you practice these strategies, you're not becoming a different person. You're becoming a better version of yourself. You're becoming someone worth obsessing over because you're actually living a life worth living. Here's what matters most. None of these tricks work if you don't actually believe in your own value. You can create scarcity. You can be unpredictable. You can mirror and reciprocate and play it cool. But if deep down you feel like you need this person to complete you, they'll sense that. And need is the opposite of attractive. The people who end up in your crush's mind rent-free are the ones who seem like they'd be fine without them. That's the real trick. That's the real dark psychology everyone's looking for. It's not about games. It's about genuinely building a life so good that someone else wanting to be part of it feels like a bonus, not a necessity. So take these 12 principles, test them. See which ones feel natural to you. Some will fit your personality better than others. Some will feel forced. Don't use the ones that feel forced. The best version of this strategy is the one where you're still being yourself, just a more intentional version of yourself. Stop waiting for your crush to make you feel complete. Start building a life that's already complete. Start becoming someone you'd be obsessed with if you saw them from the outside. That's when the real magic happens. That's when people naturally gravitate toward you. Your crush's attention isn't something you need to trick them into giving you. It's something they'll want to give you, once they realize what they might lose. And they'll only realize that if you actually have something worth losing. So go live your life, build your value, create your mystery, and watch what happens.